When the police lights fade and the yellow tape comes down, a different kind of work begins. It's a job most people never think about, hidden behind closed doors. What does it take to clean up the aftermath of a crisis? Today, we find out. Hello, and welcome to What Do You Actually Do? The podcast where we talk to people about their real jobs to help you learn English through natural conversation. I'm your host, Alex. Today, we have a very special guest with a job that many people are curious about but few understand. Please welcome Sam, who is a professional crime scene cleaner. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to talk about it.
Sam has some incredible stories from this job, including one moment involving a small dog toy that meant a lot to a family. We'll talk about that story a little later. But first, let's start with the most basic question. In simple terms, what does a crime scene cleaner actually do?
Well, our main job is to come into a location after the police, paramedics, and investigators have finished their work. We clean, disinfect, and restore the scene to a safe condition.
So you're making the place safe again for the family or property owner.
Exactly. We handle what's called biohazard remediation. It's a specialized field. We're not just house cleaners, we are trained to safely remove dangerous biological materials and make a space livable again for the family or property owner.
Biohazard remediation. That sounds intense. How does someone even get into this line of work? It doesn't seem like a job you dream of as a kid.
No, definitely not. My background was actually in nursing. I worked in hospitals for years. And through that, I saw many families who were dealing with a sudden trauma or loss. They would leave the hospital and have to go home to a very difficult situation. I realized there was a huge need for a service that was not only technical, but also full of compassion.
Oh, I see. So it's not just technical work. It's also about providing a compassionate service.
Yes, I wanted to provide that. So I did a lot of research, got the necessary training and certifications, and started my own company. It felt like a very practical way to help people during their worst moments.
That's an amazing transition. So could you walk us through a typical workday? Or is there no such thing?
There's really no typical day. We are on call 24/7, so a call can come in at any time, day or night.
Wow, 24/7.
Once we get a call, the first step is to assess the situation over the phone. Then, my team and I prepare our equipment and our vehicle. When we arrive, we put on our personal protective equipment, the PPE.
That's the full white suit and mask we see in movies?
Yes, exactly like that. It's for our safety. It protects us from any potential biohazards. After that, we carefully and respectfully begin the cleaning and decontamination process. It's very slow and meticulous work.
Meticulous. I can imagine you have to be very careful. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of the job? Is it the physical part or the emotional part?
It's both, but for me, the emotional part is tougher. We meet people on the worst day of their lives. We have to be professional and focused on the job, but also show empathy and kindness. It's a difficult balance.
Yeah, that must be incredibly hard.
It is. The physical side is also demanding. We wear the hot suits for hours, and the smells can be very strong. You have to have a lot of physical and mental endurance.
On the other side of that, what's the most surprising thing about the job? Something people might not expect.
I think the most surprising thing is the sense of gratitude we get from the families. People think our job is just gruesome, but it's actually very rewarding.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah. When we finish, we've taken a terrible burden off their shoulders. We've helped them take the first step toward healing. That hug or handshake from a grateful family member, it makes all the difficult parts worthwhile.
That makes perfect sense. Do you have a particular story from your work that is memorable? Maybe something that was unusual or just stuck with you.
I do. We were called to a home where an elderly man had passed away and wasn't discovered for some time. The family was there, obviously very sad, but their biggest concern was finding his little dog's favorite toy, a small blue squeaky ball.
Oh, wow. In the middle of all that.
Yes, they said the dog was very sad and they just wanted to give him that one comfort. The house was very cluttered and it was a big job, but we made it a mission. We spent an extra hour carefully sorting through belongings.
And did you find it?
We did. It was under a sofa cushion. The look of relief on the daughter's face was unforgettable. It wasn't about the mess, it was about finding that little piece of normal. It reminded me our job is about restoring peace, not just cleaning rooms.
That's a beautiful story. It really shows the human side of your work. You've talked about the emotional challenges. What are some of the common misconceptions people have about your job?
First, you need a very strong stomach. That's a given. But more importantly, you need to have a deep sense of compassion and a lot of emotional resilience.
Resilience, yeah.
You must be able to leave the job at the job and not take the sadness home with you. I'd also say get the proper training and certification. It's a serious job that requires real expertise. And make sure you're doing it for the right reason, to help people.
A strong stomach, compassion, and resilience. That's fantastic advice. Sam, this has been so insightful. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us today.
You're very welcome, Alex. It was my pleasure.
That was my conversation with Sam, a crime scene cleaner. Now, let's go over a few useful vocabulary words from our chat. First, Sam described his work as meticulous. That's spelled Meticulous. Meticulous. If you are meticulous, it means you are very careful and pay great attention to every detail. For example, a watchmaker must be meticulous to assemble all the tiny parts correctly. The second word is biohazard. Biohazard. A biohazard is any biological material that is a serious threat to health. Sam's job is to safely remove biohazards from a scene. Next, we have compassion. Compassion. Compassion is the feeling of wanting to help someone who is sick, hungry, or in trouble. Sam said you need a lot of compassion for his job. A simple example is, he felt compassion for the homeless man and bought him a hot meal. And our last word is resilience. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to be happy or successful again after something difficult or bad has happened. It's about bouncing back from tough situations. Sam said it's a key quality for his work. And that's all for today's episode of What Do You Actually Do? A huge thank you again to our guest, Sam. I hope you found his story as interesting as I did. Join us next week when we find out what a taxi driver actually does. From strange passengers to unbelievable late-night stories, we'll discover what life is really like behind the wheel. Until next time, keep listening and keep learning.